I'm so excited to launch this new podcast series here on Substack, A Great Curiosity About You. And I'm going to be interviewing inspiring humans that are also committed to growth and expansion in their lives, their businesses, and finding and stepping into our purpose is hard. It's filled with highs and lows and dead ends, failures, successes. I know I've had my fair share, and getting back up, discovering what we're made of is what makes life feel meaningful. And I'm so excited to welcome my first guest and a past client, Kathleen Pagan. She's the heart and brains behind Endlessly Elated, a lifestyle brand dedicated to intentional living. And Kathleen has such a passion for design and cooking and healthy living, and she shares her journey so openly on Instagram and Substack. It's such a gift to the world. And she's also working on a cookbook to preserve her family's Puerto Rican recipes, which she's going to tell us more about. And Kathleen is just such a bright light, one of the most inspiring humans I know. She's here to amplify any good vibes in the world. She's a huge human design fan. She's navigated a ton of loss in her life. She's taken bold career moves, bold moves for living. She has moved to a new country, which I'm sure she will share with us. And over the next hour, we're going to just explore her journey of highs and lows and self-discovery and coming into her superpowers, working through blocks, and aligning with her purpose, and hear a little bit more about her vision for the future. And so let's get the good vibes flowing, because I know Kathleen has them in massive amounts, and I want you guys all to feel them. And so, Kathleen, I can't believe it. We started working together in 2024, so it's already been
insane.
It's crazy how time just melts. And we spent so much time just diving into your human design, helping you really get to know your rhythm and your routine and really step into your just superpowers. And for anyone listening, Kathleen is a 3-5 sacral generator. And just to set the tone, and I want to turn it over to you and just tell us a little bit more about your journey in discovering the way you operate in the world, how your energy operates in the world. What are some of your superpowers, and how has that journey been for you in the past couple of years?
First of all, can I just say thank you? And thank you for that introduction. It makes me feel so special and grand. I was like listening to it and I'm like, oh, I have done that. Oh yeah, I have done that too. You often forget as a human, some of the things that like you've endured or gone through. And like when someone's sort of regurgitating them back to you, I swear to you, I was listening to and I was like, is that me she's talking about? Are we sure about this? So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life, and I'm so grateful that our paths crossed. So yeah. Okay, so what was the question? My journey?
Yeah, just really what I want to bring to the forefront is just how challenging it is to step into our superpowers and our gifts and like our natural way of just operating. And I think just through your own health journey, just learning your own kind of rhythms as like, I think maybe about like, not everyone here listening probably knows about human design, but just tell us a little bit about like your experience kind of learning about how you just naturally operate. I know you also like you started your career in corporate finance. So I mean, you were just living in this complete different reality than this creative world that you live in now. And so even if you just go back like the past 5 years, like what has the journey been from corporate America to like your own business? I think even just telling us like that, and then obviously human design, you discovered human design. That's where we went deep, but there's so much even that came before that.
Yeah, it's so interesting because when I think about my life, I think for such a long time, I lived in this world where I wasn't honoring me and my gifts and my superpowers, and not for any reason other than simply I was just conditioned in a way through many things. And I'm sure many people can relate to this, whether it's parents at home, whether it's society, whether it's friends of yours, like everyone, every single day of every single minute of everything you consume is sort of putting a little tick in your brain, right? That sort of conditions you, especially if you're not open enough or alert enough to see it or be like, wait, is that for me to like receive? And so, to your point, I lived such a different life than I live today because for so long I was doing what I call living in my box, which is just I was what I thought naturally born to be a rule follower, never a rule breaker. So for me, it was like, okay, well, we follow this path. And that path was very linear. It was you go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, you graduate, you get a good job, you do something people understand, which is an interesting dynamic because today I do so many things. And sometimes that fear creeps back in. Is like, are people going to understand what I do? Like, is it too much? Like, how can I write a cookbook and talk about wellness and also not be a nutritionist or a personal trainer, but yet love it? Like there's all these layers to being human that I think we question so often. But the beauty of it is that the more we question it, the more we discover like why and our superpowers and like our gifts. And so between, as you well know, unfortunately, I lost both my parents. Those were, I think, seasons in my life that just break you open. There was taking the chance on quitting corporate America, going from a really what someone would consider a very successful career, and it looked good from the outside. I was getting promoted, I was making good money, I was doing well, and to leave all that and start a journey that I'd be lying to you if I told you that I knew what I was doing. I still to this day don't know what I'm doing.
I don't think anybody does.
Right?
And if they do tell you that they know what they're doing, I think they're lying. Yeah.
They're totally lying. Yeah. It's like every day I wake up and I'm like having a midlife crisis on whether I'm doing something correctly or not. But in all of that, I learned that, like you said, that 3-5 in me, which for maybe someone who doesn't know about human design, is for me, it's like trial and error. So it's like me trying things, finding the mistakes, perfecting it, right? And I'm not talking about like perfection. I'm just simply talking about the way I want to see it. And then getting to that quote unquote endpoint is so important and something that I honor so much now, because in quitting and trying, it was when I finally felt like, oh, I didn't get that right, but I'm so glad I did that. Or like, oh, that's not really what I like, but I'm so happy that I know that's not what I want. And like I had never afforded myself that opportunity ever in my life, if I'm being honest. It was like I was on autopilot. What do you do? What's the next job? What's the next promotion? What's the next pay raise? When do I want to, like, I was already in my 20s and early 30s thinking about like how I was going to retire. Like it was like step by step, step by step. It was never this is a world. And I think when I lost my parents, I lost my dad in 2012 and I lost my mom in 2023. But I think when I lost my dad, it was a huge pivotal moment. It was like my beginning search. But when I got to lose my mom and that happened to me again, it was like my universe was just like out of like this. Like I was like, this can't be happening again. Like there's no way that the universe, God, is going to take both my parents. Like that's impossible. I could not comprehend.
I just got the chills when you said that, because it does. It seems just like
it's like there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. What are the chances? Like there's no way. And I think that second time around, unfortunately, really was like, okay, who am I? And I think that's when we started working together in 2024. It was,
Yeah. And you had lost your mom, just for context for anyone listening, when we worked together in 2024. Remind me, was like a year, like a 1 year, right? About
not even a year. She passed February 2023 and you and I started working January 2024. Right. But it showed me where my head was at. It was like, I need guidance. Like yes. I've done the trying, the fixing, the where am I? Who am I? Like I need to come to a place where I not only know who I am, but I believe it. Like I'm living in it. Mm-hmm. And thank you for you. I mean, I tell you this behind the scenes all the time. Like honestly, you were just God sent for me, because it's like you regurgitated the things that I sort of knew and the things I sort of felt maybe were too scared to like explore or say out loud. And you gave me so much power in that year. And I don't want to get emotional, but like, honestly, like it was just amazing. So thank you. Thank you so much.
And I think, just for anyone listening too, I think it's the like using human design as the map really can help open up, like when we want to look and go deeper on some of these things. It helps make grief and our desires make sense to us, right?
100%.
Yeah.
and you know, there's something special, and I know this isn't needed, but for me at the time and point I was in my life, I needed it for someone to tell you it's okay. Like, do it. Like, it's good to be you. Like, it's almost like you were giving me permission without realizing you were. And it's not that I needed it, but I needed it in that moment. I needed to feel like I wasn't, the things I thought, the things I wanted weren't just simply, you know, a passing thought, but just were my reality if I really wanted them to be.
Yeah, and I think grief is such like a heavy emotion. It comes in waves. It's like so heavy, but in grief, right? Because every emotion has such like beautiful wisdom in it as we sit and process it. Obviously, like loss of parent, just anything like really big, a relationship, a business, like these things, they help us take us back to the core of who we are and like ask some of these really big questions. And yeah, I'm curious, like if you had to like, and also for context, like when did you leave corporate? Like, can you tell us just like a little bit about the milestones and like how long you worked in corporate and then, yeah, and kind of like that whole journey? Because I think there's so much that people can relate to on the journey of like working that 9 to 5, doing what you should be doing. And then there's usually some sort of like, whatever, something big that takes us, it's like almost like an ego death, or it takes us to our knees, or we suffer like health issues, a loss of something, and that then creates this sort of like breakthrough where we step into this like new version of self. So like just a little bit of context on that that hero's journey that you're on for anyone listening that can relate to.
Absolutely. So I would say the first thing I would tell people is, I always say, if you want to know who you truly are, go back to that 6-7-year-old in you and what that little person's interests were. Because I think it's so important, because when I think about my corporate journey, I think back to that little girl and how I didn't listen to her and I just kept going. So I, graduate college, get into corporate finance. My dad passes away in 2012. When he passed away, it was the first time that I was like, this is not what I should be doing. I've known this forever. What am I doing? I actually went into finance, I believe now, because he was an accountant. So it was like, I surely must do what my dad did. Like, makes total sense. Plus, like, good job, good income stability, all that stuff that I created and told myself, which fair, true. And so it happens then that I start to question it. But it would be 7 years from literally my dad's passing, essentially, that I had the courage to quit. And so in those 7 years, I just honestly boils down to I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel worthy of this dream life. And I put that in quotes because that looks different for everyone. And dream lives have their own struggles and their own things and obstacles. But, that idea that like I could be something else, I could be doing the things I wanted. So it took me 7 years. It was a really long time. So in 2019, I remember going back and forth and back and forth. I used to carry around with my resignation letter in my purse.
It's so empowering. Yeah. You're like, I run this show. I can choose anytime to leave.
Yeah, and then it never happens.
Yeah.
And finally I was just like, what am I waiting for? Like, and truthfully, I don't even think I've ever spoken about this publicly. My mom had it wasn't a breast cancer scare. She just had like an abnormal breast exam, and she didn't tell us about it. And it turned out it was absolutely nothing. So it wasn't like they thought she had breast cancer or anything like that. It was simply like, oh, there's a little lump, like let's check into it. And I think it was like a bit of fat or something in her breast. But I remember that feeling of like, oh, no, time out. I've been here 7 years. I'm going to wait for another tragedy to make a move. Like, this is nuts. Like, if this happens to be something awful, like I'm going to be back into this place of like, life is so short. What am I doing with myself? And so then I literally quit. I want to say like My mom got the "it's totally fine," and I walked into my boss's office. I don't remember if it was that day or the next day, and I was like, "Look, I can't do this anymore." And I battled. I stood part time, and then I moved to another like job that felt more like a consulting job, and then I moved to Canada for that job, and I was there every couple of weeks, back and forth, and that was miserable for me. Being away from home, constantly sleeping out of hotel rooms or people's homes, like it just felt so exhausting to me, and I was like, I can't do this, and I was like, I'm quitting, I'm done, and that was it. And the rest is history, as they say. A long, non-linear history, but a history at last.
Yeah, so what did you do after you left? Because I think that's for me on my journey leaving corporate, it was like really needing like time in between. I think it's so hard sometimes to know what we want to do next when we're living in something. And like, did you give yourself space, time? Did you jump into design? Like, did you know what you loved, or did you have to like reacquaint with yourself after leaving corporate?
Yeah, no, I definitely knew where I wanted because I tapped into that 6-year-old, 7-year-old little girl who loved to cook, who loved to entertain. I just couldn't fathom what a job looked like with those interests, honestly. Especially, my parents are Puerto Rican, and so we come from an immigrant household. Like, there was no way I was walking into my house and saying I wasn't like gonna go to college and go to culinary school. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but just in my household, that would have just my dad would have been like, yeah, okay, like get your little butt, apply, and go to college. So yes, so leaving corporate, I did have that idea, which was, again, I love to cook, I love to entertain, and I remember thinking like, Martha Stewart's done it. Like, that was like an example to me of like someone who had similar interests. Not in a lot of ways, like I wasn't into DIY or anything like that, but there was that like in the home space way that she made me feel like some of the things she likes I like. I love to design. I used to like rearrange my room every like 6 months. It was like the running joke in my house because I would literally make my parents move my furniture, and it was like this headache for them. I mean, I would get in trouble. They'd be like, no, like you're done, we're not moving the furniture. I'm like, no, you have to move it. So I did. I gave myself a whole year. I gave myself a year of just planning and understanding. And I should say, in all fairness, I had a blog while my corporate years exploring those kinds of interests. I had a lifestyle brand, a blog where I used to blog about everything entertaining. I used to share recipes. So I've been doing it for a long time in that aspect. I had just never done it full time. I had never thought that I could be this entrepreneur that owned some type of brand that did services or had products in this realm. But here I am.
Yeah, so then I mean that it's so cool. I think it's such a bold move to leave corporate, especially into just like it requires, and I think the journey is so much about like building our self-trust in our gifts and who we are and our desires. But in order to even build trust, it's like we've got to learn, it's like, who am I? What do I like? And so I think that it's so courageous even to start that exploration as you're working. And I think it's so hard to find the time to do that, but it really does kind of build on it. So I'm so curious how that evolution from like lifestyle blogging, exploring your creativities, blossomed into like really, I mean, the passion was you were doing some interior design and cooking. Um, and yeah, just kind of talking to us a little bit about how it evolved once you started. Because I think sometimes living in our process is it's we all want stability, and that's what a corporate job gives us. But when we decide to go on our own and follow our own curiosities, it's like we're in the flow, and it's kind of building on the momentum as we go. And I think that is your greatest human design gift too, is like momentum, building momentum.
Yeah. And I think that's honestly like, because I'm me, it's so hard to sometimes describe like what my process was, but it really
Yeah.
was simply just trying, moving. I started by designing champagne coupes. So I was like, okay, I have to have a business. And these are the things with entrepreneurship that I think sometimes no one ever talks about, is all the things you think you should do versus the things you actually should do.
And that's all part of the journey. It's like
Exactly.
peeling off the shoulds to find what is our authentic desire versus our ego desires, right? And I think
Exactly.
that's why I always say I love my perspective is that we have to, I'm all for just like creating, like you don't, who cares if it's authentic or not authentic? It's through the art of creating and bringing something to life that you learn what is you and what's not you, because it's through the experience that we really get to learn and see what is authentic, and we have to like strip off all of those ego layers. So I know that like in my first business too, it was a lot of shoulds, and it was great. You know, it's like it's part of the process. It
Yeah.
is part of the process. There is no, you don't, it is the journey, right? There is no perfection. It's part of learning, okay, what is authentically me and what did I do because I felt like I had to do that thing.
Yeah. For me, it was I designed products, like physical home products. And I can't, you know, it's funny. I look back at that chapter in my life and I still have my products. Like I'm still working through the inventory because I'm like, well, I paid for it and why not? Right.
Yeah.
I realized too that something really important. You don't have to hate something for it not to be yours. Like, because that's really important. I thought like, okay, surely because I really didn't like what I did for a living, and I'm so grateful for the opportunities and for the people that I met, the stability it provided. There is so much gratitude in that. But truthfully, my heart wasn't in finance. And so I was like, well, because I dislike this so much, it must be, it doesn't need to feel like a hell yes, like the things we talked about through our own process, for it to be the right thing. And so I adopted a lot of things throughout the last 5 years that were fine, were good. I needed to go through them. I needed to do them, but they also weren't mine to claim. And it's been really hard to understand that and like be okay with that, because a lot of money goes into these things, a lot of, you know, attention, a lot of time, a lot of effort, resources. And so, but I'm like, the beauty of one of the things I'm learning about myself is I'm okay showing you all the messed up parts of me. Like I'm okay being as human as I possibly can be with my, you know, in the lens of what I feel comfortable sharing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But for many people, that's not theirs to claim. It's not the way they want to do life. And so I feel so liberated because it's the way I innately can do mine. And so doing that and falling on my face and being like I fell on my face gives me so much power for me, because I'm like, you can't find my weak spot because I'm telling you what the weak spot is, because I'm okay telling you. And there's nothing wrong with not being that kind of person, especially on this online world. I realize that there's so much we can unpack there. Even like I'm not going and telling everybody go share your life story, and but somehow for me that feels innately okay through
Mm-hmm.
my lens, right? There's many things I keep private. I'm not sitting here saying I go out and tell everything to the world. That is completely would be a lie. But the things I do, especially with my business, I'm like, I didn't sell that. I failed at that. I launched this program. It didn't work. Like it's part of business. And it's like, I feel like for me, it's my duty to, for myself, not even for someone else, for myself to be able to let go of that shame that sometimes comes with that when I'm experiencing it.
Yeah, and I think so much like what's so beautiful in that is like you've leaned in so hard to things. And I think it's even been on my journey too, of like sometimes you try so many things and you're like, okay, striking out, striking out, striking out. And you're like, what's my thing? What is
Yeah.
mine? Right. And I think that's the thing about clarity is that once we do dial into who we are, who we're for, and we deepen into our superpower, there's a realization that in order for life to feel that fulfillment, that joy that we're all after, it actually is just really simple. And our purpose and what we're here for, it isn't for everyone. When it's crystal clear, it like all the other things just like kind of fall away. And so I'm curious, like through that of trying all of these things, like what is the clarity that you found that continues to like stick for you?
It's interesting. So, okay, gosh, these are new things I have not spoken about before, but here we are. I think that there's so many facets of my business that I've tried, and we talked about this privately. Like I'll give a perfect example and be completely transparent. Design. I love interior design. Like it feeds my soul in ways that I can't explain. But the way I've done design, and what I mean by that is done it for other clients.
You've been an interior designer. Yeah, you've gone
Correct.
that path. Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't fulfill me as much. And I learned that when I was doing interior design for people that I loved. And I'm like, again, I like this process. There's nothing wrong with this. There's no chaos. No one's fighting. My client is happy. I'm happy. They're happy. Like, it's such an interesting thing because you're like sitting there and going, but what's wrong then?
Yeah, you're like, it's working, but I'm not feeling it's the feeling.
I'm not
The vibe
happy.
is off. The energetics are off, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and I'm the type of person that I don't give up as easily. So then it's like, I did it again. I'll do it again. And I'll be honest, I still struggle. Like, I have a good friend of mine now that's asking me, and I have every intention to do it. And it's not because there's part of me that's like, but I want to help my friend. And if I can help my friend and also make a little money, I'm a business owner at the end of the day. I need income. Like, why not? Because there's nothing that I dislike about that process. But I'd be lying to you, so lying to you, if I told you that it lights me up and all I want to do is design for other people.
And as a generator, being lit up is like your key that you're living into your alignment. Exactly. So you know that and I think that's what's one of the most inspiring things about you is your commitment to like feeling in alignment and loving what you do. That is like just so inspiring, where you're like, you really are committed to finding the thing that lights you up and that like feels good to you.
Yeah. The shadow of that though is there's so much that comes up for me that triggers me, because before I discovered that I was a 3-5, before I discovered that I should try things and let go of things and try things, I used to fear that people would think I was flaky. That this idea that I would just try things and let things go and try things and let this go. And I remember one of my best friends years ago saying that very thing to me, like, wait, you're changing what you want to do again? And she wasn't being, there was no maliciousness in her. It was just this, like, for her, it felt like, wait, now you're doing this, but wait, now you're going to do this. Like, I'm a little bit confused, like, take me through it. And I'm like, I remember sitting there going, she's right. Like, I'm so flaky. Like, why am I doing these things and then realizing I don't like them? So it is hard to this day to realize you can like something and again, not claim it to be yours, and be okay that the world won't understand then. But what I do know too is that the world will understand later. I think we live in a world where if we connect the dots going backwards, we always see it. It's only when we're going forward that we never get it. And so I trust that enough to know you might not get it. You might be so confused about who I am as a person, what I do, what I stand for, all the things, but in the end, like, I trust that looking back at it, you'll be like, she was living in alignment with what her purpose was, right? And what she should do, which is so interesting.
It is. And I think it's so hard too, because in order to stay in alignment too, that means saying no. And this is a hard thing for generators, right? Like, in order for you, you have to create space. So you have to like be saying no to things that don't light you up in order to create space for the right alignment. And I think it can be so scary sometimes to say no, because then we're like, ooh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't want to go to that party tonight, but like, it feels weird to sit home and like, cause I don't know what I'm going to do. So again, it's like the unknown, right? Like saying yes to the unknown and creating space for it. Yeah. But in that space, what happens? Like, what happens when you create space?
The best things happen, the best things. It just gives you so much opportunity for clarity, like you were saying, and so much opportunity for those innate yeses. I think with anything in life, like giving yourself any kind of space allows you to just sit with things. Like, I think about it like the best way is, have you ever gotten an email or some text it's made you really angry and you've then responded immediately and you're just like, then you look back, not even 3 minutes later, it takes almost no time for you to be like, oh my God, why did I say that? Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. It feels the same in life, just in bigger picture. Like, if you just give yourself time or space and you sit before you react, then all of a sudden the clarity of it all, you would probably never respond to that text message, or maybe respond very differently. And you would feel so good about the way you reacted to it. I feel it's the same way. I think like in life, like as an example for me has been my cookbook. And this, we were working together. This cookbook came to me that I say, it's funny. I say till this day, that the cookbook for me, working on it, has been the biggest yes I've ever had over and beyond opening my company.
Mhm.
Like it's been that second, and we're talking about 5 years of
Mhm.
doing, trying, thinking, launching. I mean, losing money, like I can't even explain to you. And it was all worth it to have this one like innate, like I should be doing this. And it's been now a year and a half and I still feel the same way. So I know that there's something there.
I was gonna say, like, can you help us understand what, like, because I think you're just such an intuitive human and like you are stay in such alignment with your energy. Like, how did you know, like, now that you've had all these experiences of like what were shoulds and you're able to have like your discernment is so sharp these days? Like, can you just tell us a little bit about like what the feeling is in your body physically of like the cookbook being a yes versus when you know, how do you know something's like a should? Because I feel like that was a lot of our work together too, was like discerning between that should part and your authentic voice and yes. And so I just think it could be helpful for people to understand that more body based kind of feeling of the cookbook always being a yes.
Yeah. It's so hard to describe, but let me try. So I remember, okay, the cookbook came to me. I was actually cooking. I was in my kitchen back when I was living in the States. I now live in Dominican Republic. I was living in the States and I was cooking, and it was one of those days, like what you said, grief comes and goes. And I just like was making food, and it wasn't even Puerto Rican food. It was just, I don't even know, making it up, a salad or whatever I was making. And it just like hit me that like I would never be able to call my mom and ask her for a recipe. And it was just like this immediate thought. And I just remember like the wave of like sorrow just like hit me, like she's gone. Like the recipes are, everything's gone. In that moment, it just comes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to figure out how to get some of her recipes. My mom, as any child would probably say, was the best cook I ever knew, right? So I'm like, I need to write stuff down. I need to remember. It's like this feeling of urgency. But then I gave myself space and I allowed myself to just be with that like thought. And I remember like it was yesterday, this like, I guess we can describe it as a gut feeling, but it was like this whole body kind of feeling, just like that whole body kind of feeling when I quit corporate. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to have to go back. I didn't know if I would lose everything I ever built, but I had to do it. Like I had to do it. I can't explain it. It was like this, like if fire, like if you don't do it, you're going to regret the day you don't do it, you know? And it's
Mhm.
scary. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. It's still the scariest thing. I still say like, oh my gosh, well, one day I have to go back to corporate. Like, could that be a possibility? Anyway, with the cookbook, it was that same feeling. So I would tell people that for me, and I think as a generator, right, for it's a sacral thing. Like I have this like intuitive gut that just says, hell yes. Like,
Mhm.
don't think about it too long. Like, sure, give yourself a little space. Sure, be clear about it. But when you feel that feeling of yes, it's a feeling. It's not a thought. It's not, it almost feels like, butterflies in a way. It doesn't feel that for me, but that feeling, when you get butterflies that you can actually feel the butterflies, you're like, ooh, there's something
Yeah.
in it. It's like that same thing. That for me is like, yeah, like I have to do this. And let me tell you, one thing too with hell yeses is that I think too it's important to talk about. You can have a hell yes and not have absolutely any outcome to that hell yes. And I think sometimes I'm logical, right? So I'm like, okay, I've done this, universe. It was a hell yes for me, universe. How come nothing has happened, universe? You're just like, and it's been a year and a half of what's going on. And in those moments, I can't tell you that there haven't been moments that you question, well, was that really a hell yes? Did I misinterpret the yes? Like, what am I doing? I think that's just human behavior to do that. And so, yeah, I think that's the feeling for me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like really couple things. One is like the idea dropped into you when you were cooking, like that you didn't
Ooh,
try to do
love that.
this. Like I think it's like we have businesses, right? And there's like we we're like, how can I make money? How can I package this? What can I do? And this idea like dropped in out of nowhere. So I think that's one like way to know that's like intuitive, because the intuition is loving. It's never going to push us. I kind of had a similar thing where like before I chose to close my vintage shop for the second time around, I got this little voice in my head that was like, what if you like, what if we just did coaching full time? And I was like,
Mm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. And so I just pushed it away, but then it dropped back in.
Mm.
And I was like, I still wasn't ready. I think it was 3 times. And then it did the third time. And I was like, I think this is my intuition. And that's what the intuition, it never pushes you. It's never, if you didn't do the cookbook, maybe in that time, it probably drop back in. Like our intuition is the thing that like, it's not pressuring us. It's not urgent, just kind of drops in. And so I think
So
that's,
I'm gonna steal that one because it's true.
and I think
It
that what I think is so beautiful about that is that's like how our creativity works when we're open to receiving. And that happens when we're cooking, we're doing something rhythmic, meditative, we're, maybe jogging in our favorite place, maybe we are in the shower, maybe we are meditating, maybe we are coloring in a coloring book, like just anything where we're just open and we're not trying. And I think
Mm,
that that is like such a beautiful example of like
oh,
creativity dropping in.
so good.
And one other thing that I think is so beautiful on this whole journey of the cookbook, because we haven't got into it so much, but you've been traveling to Puerto Rico to spend time with your grandparents that are in their 90s to like, I even have the chills saying it, but like actually remaking all of these recipes and like really immersing yourself with your mom's parents that your mom's no longer with us and now you get to have this beautiful experience with your grandparents. And what's been so beautiful to watch in your journey is the foundation you've built of bringing it. And I think so much of business or building a making impact, it's like built off of like solid foundations where it's like we plant these seeds, we build these strong foundations, which is what you've been doing is like, I mean, how many times have you been there to like remake recipes, put them into your book proposal? Literally, I mean, you could tell us a little bit about that process, but it's like you don't just make a cookbook by sitting down and like, our ego would be like, okay, you want to do a cookbook? Great, get a proposal out and send it out. Like, but that's not like when we're living authentically us, it's a foundation that's built like over time and seeds that are planted that we sow those seeds, we nurture those seeds, we water those seeds, we learn from those seeds, and then they bloom.
Yeah.
And I just think that I just watching you on this journey and like seeing you trust that process.
And it's trust because so to provide a little context, right? Like you're saying, so it's like, okay, I had to hire, I needed to understand, like, I want to do a cookbook. Great. Okay. What now? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
So I hired a professional, thankfully, to also explain that to me and kind of take me through that process, which in turn builds what they call a book proposal. That book proposal then goes and gets pitched to literary agents who then pitch them to publishers. In a gist, the literary agent world is very small. So what they ask is respect amongst each other. So basically I get to submit to one, wait 8 to 10 weeks. If there's a no answer or there's a no answer, then we move to the next one and so forth and so forth. Mm-hmm. So while I was doing that, I am trusting the process, like you said, and I am still going back to Puerto Rico, still telling myself this is a hell yes.
Becoming an expert. I think that I'm just like, as you're saying, I'm like, oh, generators become this like expert at their craft and like this art of cooking over and over. Like it's the rhythm of it.
Even the expertise of it has shifted so much for me. So like, it's so funny you say that. It started as, okay, we need to learn my mom's recipes. And it was very much my mom's recipes. Mm-hmm. Then it became more of like a cultural thing. Like, what does this actually mean? Like, what these recipes, where do they come from? Like, to be an expert in understanding, well, why do they even have to exist? Because for me, the ego in me is like, well, it's because it's my mom. It's my mom's recipes. That's why they exist. And that's true and that's fair and it's valid. But there's such a bigger story to it. And evolving in that expertise. Like, okay, so what's the history of this? Okay, well, what does this mean for my culture? What does this mean for someone that's in my shoes? What is this? And so it's interesting to see how that's even evolved
Yeah.
in the most beautiful way.
Well,
But
and
it's
it's that your vision has really become bigger than you. And I think
exactly.
that I got chills as you were saying all that because I know your journey and the recent Substack that you went that just, or that you just recently wrote that went, I don't know if we want to say viral or like it got a lot of exposure, but about how Puerto Rican culture is like kind of dying and how you're
Oh,
now seeing
beautiful.
your cookbook in a bigger lens and how this is like preserving culture, not just your mom's recipes, not just your grandparents, but literally of a culture. I like literally have like the chill, my whole body. And it's
Same.
like how this little like idea dropped in that like it's not even this isn't even just your personal mission anymore, but how your purpose has actually become bigger than you. And I mean, that to me is like so inspiring. Where now talk about like your why and fueling you through this like doubt in the whole process of
Yeah.
we didn't really get into it, but how the publishing world works and how submitting your proposal and maybe tell us a little bit about that because I feel like you've learned so much about rejection through this process too.
Which is
So,
where you hold on to the trust
yeah,
and the trust in the universe and the trust in who you innately are. I
yeah,
went a year and a half getting rejection after rejection or no response. And I think no responses are worse than rejections, I've
totally.
learned, because it just makes you feel, I mean, for me, it made me feel worthless. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even get, but in defense to them, they get a million, submissions. It wasn't a them thing. It was so a me thing that I had to work through, that it was the trigger in me that I'm not worthy. And it's not, no one can, I believe no one can fill up your cup the way you can fill up your cup. Like you have to be full. And so in that journey, it's realizing that it's like, oh, it's still there. That little shadow of I'm not worthy is still there. I'm doing the things. I'm, to the world, here I am, like, but moving. And the reality is I'm still stuck in that. This isn't really for you, and it's not for you, and that like little voice in my head that constantly played. But trust the process.
Yeah.
I still did it. I still did it. And I finally got my yes, as you know.
I know. Literally, when we had we had a catch up call like a couple of weeks ago, and it like I can't
Crazy.
even believe it. It was like I was the first, like one of the first people. I was like literally shocked. Like,
Yeah,
wait, what? Not shocked because I knew it was going to happen, but just
no, but
it's been years in the making.
yeah. Yeah. And it always looks so shiny from the outside. People
Yeah,
don't pay attention as often as you think. So
yeah,
it's like you tell someone something and they think it happened yesterday. And now it's like the
yeah.
yes is tomorrow. And
Exactly. And
it's
I think just
not
yeah,
like that at
showing
all.
you just share so openly and honestly about the journey, which I think is just so helpful for people to see that like what it really takes to become this next version of yourself and to live into your purpose. And I think that like when you're even saying like I think it's so hard to kind of you just like keep trusting. It's the only way to work through doubts and fears and I always think that like doubt is one of those things that's like, okay, it means I'm getting closer and closer and closer to my thing. But now I imagine, and I'm so curious, but as your why is like literally expanded so big, is that helping you navigate any things that are coming up now that are in your way?
Yeah. It's funny. I think I told you this on our catch up when my agent, said yes to me and signed me on. I think I wasn't shocked. I think when I told you, I was like not there either, which is I think why I told you just like as if it was in passing, like, oh,
I
I woke
was
up
like, wait,
today.
what? Can
And
you
you're
tell
like,
me
oh,
more?
you just tell me that? Yeah, exactly. But it was a funny conversation, and looking back at it, I was like, oh my gosh. I say to my agent, I'm like, can I share that? I know that this isn't the cookbook deal, but can I share? Like, I've been sharing my journey, and I think it's important. My community, I'm so grateful too for the community that I have. Is so, they're. I just sometimes don't know how lucky I got. Like, they're so good about just cheering me on, and they don't realize, sometimes I think we don't realize as humans what we can do for someone else. Like, the beauty of social media versus the not so pretty sides of it. And so, they had been cheering me on. They went through every no with me because I was like, I gotta know again, guys. I gotta know again. Here, I'm in tears. Like, help me, And so she's like, yeah, absolutely. You can, of course, you can say, but I caution. I'm like, caution one. She's like, this isn't the publisher, this isn't the deal. Like, I would never want you to feel, in her words were, I don't want you to feel embarrassed if it never comes to fruition, because ultimately I can't guarantee you that a publisher will pick it up. I can only guarantee you that I'm going to sell the heck out of this book, and I believe in you and I believe in your story, and so we're going to do it, but ultimately it's not up to me. And without even a hesitation, talk about not giving myself some space, without even a hesitation, I was like, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm good with that. And I remember getting off the call and reflecting on that very moment, because I was like, this is how much I've expanded myself, that I trust that even if it never happens, even if this cookbook literally never happens, that I'd be okay. That I'd be okay. That all of this was supposed to happen, that I'm okay sharing this. When I'm not, that's immediately then it's the no, it's the hell no. Then I'm like, well, I'm not sharing that. I'm not either ready to share it. I don't want to share it. It's not something I need to share, that I feel like I need to share. But in that moment, I'm like, I owe it to them just as much as they've been there with me. Like, it's like telling my friend, like, I'm like, no, I have to. So for me, right, that felt like a hell yes. And it was the best hell yes I went with, because I did announce it and it's been amazing. And I still have a publisher. So, that's the beauty of this all. It's like real
Yeah.
time, like
Yeah, it's such a beautiful moment of really trusting yourself and being so detached from the outcome and knowing that you are living into who you are, and no matter what form it takes. And I think that that is just such a beautiful milestone and reflection back to you, just of like, yeah, how far you've come on this journey. And I can't wait to see what it opens up in you too. I know that writing on Substack has really getting you flowing and like really following the fire and the things that are like present and on your heart. And I'm curious, like, what is next from here? What is keeping you kind of grounded in your process these days?
yeah, I think it's just, and I think it's just, this is going to sound off, but it's just being me. It's like really continuing to just be okay with me, with all of me, with all my shadows, my limiting beliefs, my superpowers, my gifts. I was talking to one of my really good friends, and I was telling her, I said something to her, and she kind of like was like a little bit taken aback. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, it's fine. And I was like, you know what it is? I'm telling the truth and I don't care era. Like, I'm in this place where, like, no more white little lies for me, because I'm such a people pleaser that every little thing I struggle with this so much, even to this day, where it's like, if you ask me for something, even if I can't, truly, it's so hard for me to say no. It really is. And so I'm in this like no white little lies era, where it's like, not only am I going to say no, I'm going to say no because I actually don't want to. And I hope you understand. And I'm going to say it with care and grace. I don't think I did that to her, which is why she was like a little taken. But I'm trying, in all my humanness, to just, I think that's really keeping me grounded, because I literally think about it now as like, I'm going to go say, whether it's an opportunity, a business opportunity, whether it's wanting, even when I reached out to you, I was like scared. I was like, oh, I don't know if I should. And I was like, it's okay. This is my truth. And it's okay for her to say no. Do you know, like, it's that feeling of like, it's okay. The world is not going to end. And so
Yeah.
I think that's really keeping me grounded these days.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, because I think that I've had my own journey with that too. And I think that you're right. I think it's like we can honor our own truth as we step into more and more of who we are. More and more of who we are is like, we're just so clear on our energy and our needs and who we are, that like, it's like when we say no to things. Now I understand why they say no is the most magnetic word, because it's for protecting your energy, and it's all in the way you say it. It doesn't there's nothing there's no offense, nothing is personal. But once you extend that to other people, now that when I get no's, I'm like, cool, whatever. Like, you don't respond, whatever. Like, and so there's this real freedom of just kind of living your truth, but you can also see other people living theirs, and this like beautiful ability to just honor the uniqueness that we all are. And that's why I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited to be doing this podcast, because I just find it so fascinating. I'm all for us stepping into like the things that make us the most unique, the most yeah, I think that that's where it's so beautiful, fascinating, rich to just watch. journeys and realize and see ourselves at different points of these journeys, but also, yeah, just see other people really stepping into their power and their truth, because it helps us see what's possible for us. And I think that without other people living into what they're made of, like, we don't know what's possible for us. And so I'm so thankful that you're able to be here and share your journey and your truth so honestly and openly with everyone. And I'm just wondering if you have any last words before we close today.
You know,
Words of
you were
wisdom for anyone.
well, you were just saying something that I thought was so interesting too. You know, as we say no, I think it also allows us to have to step into our like bigger purpose and like our bigger responsibility and be prepared for it. So because with what's that saying that says like with bigger visibility comes bigger responsibility. I think the idea of saying no to the things that you don't want, or turning away the things that don't energetically feel like a match to you, actually makes you ready for that bigger visibility and bigger responsibility world.
Yes,
Because
100%.
you don't have anything hiding in the shadows. You haven't built this world where all your yeses were supposed to be no's, and perhaps all your no's were supposed to be yeses because you
And you
didn't
have space
have.
to fully hold the capacity or the magnitude of the presence it takes to be able to step into that new version. Yeah. And
Because every no to me is also this the complete, you're essentially saying yes to you. Do you know what I mean?
oh,
Like
I
you
love that.
and that means yes to you, and that means more of you. So you become bigger and bigger
I
and
love
bigger and
that.
bigger, or your energy, right? And so that then makes you ready for that responsibility that you, for you, because everybody has a purpose in life, I believe, and everybody has to
Yes.
hold that responsibility of their
Yeah,
purpose.
totally.
And
And
so,
it's a journey of like increasing our capacity to be able to
yeah,
hold our own energy. Essentially, that's what the
yeah.
journey
And
is.
it's big energy. For me, it's big energy.
It is. It is.
I
And
love
thank you for sharing it with us
it. Thank
and
you
for being
so, so
here. And
much.
I will link everything where people can find you and connect with you. And I'm just
Thank
grateful
you.
to be alongside this journey with you.
I'm so grateful we have met, our paths have crossed. I literally could not have done that period in my life without you. So I appreciate every word of wisdom you provided for me the full year we worked together, because it was just, I wouldn't be here telling you all the things I'm telling you. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kathleen, for being here with us today.
Thank you.